Hello and welcome to our Roundtable Discussion Groups 2011. Hey! Welcome to Oz. My name is Tom. Here it is, Saturday, March 19th. Welcome to queerpublicradio.com and gaytalkradio.org. Yeah, it's a roundtable day, and our primary topic today on this wonderful roundtable is going to be pride. Of course, that doesn't mean that's the only thing we're locked in to talk about, but that's going to be our primary topic. We have with us this week, yes, from different sides of the globe, Rob and Cisco from New York. Hello, welcome.
Hey, Tom. How you doing today?
I'm in a wild and crazy mood today. I just don't know what became of me.
Because you're a wild and crazy guy.
Yeah, I guess today's the day. Yeah, and we got Kali with us from Hawaii. Aloha.
Aloha!
Man, that's a big aloha for 9 a.m. in the morning over there.
Well, I just figured those folks out there already are well awake and well past their coffee time, so I thought I would give it a great big one.
Yeah, that's such a trip. You guys got 6 hours difference between you now, you know? It's like, wow.
It's 3 o'clock here.
Yep, 9 a.m. here.
Well, let's start with a moment of silence. Yeah, for our neighbors in Japan and our friends and family in Japan. And
awesome idea.
Yeah.
That Kale suggested that today, that we have a moment of silence for Japan, and before the show we were talking a little bit and we all agreed that would be a good idea, and so since it's been brought up, then let's do it, huh? We'll give more than a few moments, I'm sure, of silence here for all the victims and those suffering in Japan, as well as any other parts of the world that have suffered devastation. So it's not a good thing. And there we go, some positive energy for all the souls lost and all the souls that are suffering from the devastation of natural disasters in our world today. Good idea. Thanks, Kali.
Yes.
Well, I just figured that, granted, Hawaii had its share of damage, but find friends and family over in Japan and around that part of the world there had it about 100 times or 1,000 times worse than we have it. So we need to remember that we do have gay brothers and sisters as well as our straight allies over there in Japan, and they deserve as much respect as everybody else. So.
Yeah, I think I'm going to toss...
Prayers, thoughts, and aloha to all of our friends over there.
Yeah, and I'm going to toss something in on top of that as well, a little sound clip that I call the Zuni Sunrise. It's a Hopi chant, a chant of a new day. Hope he
That
can.
That's beautiful.
Wasn't that nice? I like that one.
Very, very nice. Very nice.
So our topic today is pride. So we had our moment of silence, and I guess we ought to go around the table here and see if anyone wants to be first, or someone wants to, to start us off, or if we're just going to get into the discussion, or what. What do you guys think?
I wouldn't mind starting. We could talk a little bit about. I'd like to talk a little bit about, Stonewall that night. So kind of like a base for what brought us to these parades and festivals that we have today. That it started out as a liberation march, and it still is a march because we still have a long way to go. But in June of 1969, tensions had been high. The city was getting, just gotten over the World's Fair in the early 60s, and they wanted to basically hide the gay people, even though everybody was here. A lot of people were here. They wanted to hide us, and they were closing bars, raiding bars. They had to wear a certain amount of clothing if you were a female or if you were, male, to prove that you were that, or they had the right to arrest you and put you in a mental institution. By June 27th, 1969, I mean, our slaps in the face were just getting bigger and bigger, and then the gay idol Judy Garland viewing was that night at Frank Campbell's funeral home on Madison Avenue. So the tensions were already high because we had lost an icon, and then the raids happened early Saturday morning around 2:00 on the 28th, and they started bringing people out. And people were outside gathering. People like Stormy I can't pronounce her name.
I think it's
Delavrier. She had come downtown to the Village. She was performing with the Jewel Box Review at the Apollo that night, and she had come downtown to hang out with the bars with her friends. And she came across the Stonewall as it was happening, and she saw them bringing people out and people that she knew. And one of the officers had told her to get out of the way, and she said, she kind of made her comment, and the cop kind of slammed her in the head. But Stormy didn't give up. She stood there and hit him back, knocked him to the ground. As she's always said, she was the one still standing. He was the one on the cement. So that was just basically the start of it. And the lesbians, the drag queens like Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera, out there too, starting the revolt that we needed to get noticed, to get equality started. The first parade being in 1970 was a little different than what it is today. It actually started in the Village and worked its way up to Central Park. Now, of course, it starts on Upper Fifth Avenue and works its way down to the Village in the gay district where the gay businesses are here in New York City. But I know today we often look at it as a parade festival because a lot of our younger generation, some of our older generation that just don't care, don't look at the historical side of it and the things that we've been fighting for all these years. They see it as a day of partying. So there's a lot of discrepancies. Some people are happy, some people are unhappy. I think it shows a good strength in numbers that we show that we are out there. And don't forget we're out there. But a lot of our young LGBT, not all, but a lot of them, only see the party aspect of it. And that's the sad thing. We're not teaching it in schools. We're not very proud of our pride. And hopefully today we can change that. That's basically what I had to start out.
Awesome. Well, they were giving you a standing ovation on that one. I love the points that you make, and I think it's important, because man, you covered so much ground so fast there in those few minutes that we have to remember, folks. June. Remember, he said June. It's not a coincidence that Pride Month is in June. That's when Stonewall occurred. Just thought in case people didn't. And then the Judy Garland thing. I myself, I know I'm ashamed to admit this, that I myself did not even know until this show, the research I did for this show today, about the Judy Garland funeral services and stuff, that happened that same day.
Oh, take away your day card, buddy.
Yep. I didn't know about that part.
Well, same here. So,
yeah, we've recently learned more and more about it. So, it's really sad that we don't know. A lot of people don't even know our history, and we're losing these veterans, these Stonewall veterans, every day. And soon we're not going to have them. It's going to be a memory, and that memory is going to slip away. We have to save it from slipping away.
Yeah, we need like a paragraph 175 documentary of the Stonewall veterans, and it needs to be done before we lose them all.
Sylvia's gone. Marcia's gone. Well, Marcia, somebody, well, they didn't know. Nobody bothered to, I guess, really research it in the police, but, they found her floating right off the Hudson at down by the old piers. But, so they don't know how she died. Most people think she was pushed.
Yeah. Those piers were pretty active during their heyday. I've seen some stuff about those piers, and I was like, wow.
Scandalous is what you could say, between that and the trucks.
Yeah, the back of the trucks. Yeah, that was in that documentary I saw, too. So, also, I wanted to note, because I think we were going to cover the thing about the gay flag.
Yes.
The gay flag, folks, I just wanted to point out, was not a part of these first marches. And Pride, it didn't come till years later. So
78. The first one, it was designed by Gilbert Baker, an artist from San Francisco, who actually dyed all the colors and hand sewed it together, a la Betsy Ross.
Betsy! What was his name?
And as I recall, the first stripe in the flag was pink, was it?
Yes.
It not?
Yes.
Yeah.
His name was Gilbert Baker.
Gilbert
Baker from San Francisco.
Betsy.
The original flag was 8 colors, not 7 as it is today. The one that was removed because supposedly they couldn't make the color at the time when they were producing the flags was hot pink, and the hot pink stood for sex, and that was at the top of the colors for the pride flag. It was hot pink for sex, red for life, orange for healing, yellow for the sun, green for now I'm having a senior moment. For serenity and nature, turquoise for art, which I don't think turquoise is still in the flag either, from what I was looking at. Indigo for harmony, and violet for spirit. They were the 8 colors that made up the original Stonewall flag in the original LGBT flag in 1978.
Yeah, no,
and does anybody know if that flag still exists and where it's located?
I would have to think in San Francisco. I would have to do a little more research on that, but I would be interested to know if that flag still exists. It really should be in the Smithsonian Institution.
Exactly.
I agree.
I wouldn't be surprised if someone owned it, because remember the big hot stink not too long ago from the megaphone that Harvey Milk used that was actually belonged to, what's his name? The one that did the most recent mini march on Washington. Oh my goodness, I'm drawing a blank on his name. I can't believe that. The Harvey Milk's right-hand man kind of guy, the one that held the microphone in the movie Milk, the young guy that was played by the guy that did going out to Africa. Alaska, out in the wild. That guy, he played that part. I can't remember. Anyway, he owned the megaphone. That Harvey gave him the megaphone that night, to speak, and when Harvey was already a city supervisor in the movie. you know, and because he couldn't lead a riot as a city supervisor, you know, so he gave it to this guy, and they actually something happened with the megaphone this last year or something that they claimed it to be a you know a historical item or whatever, and I think he had to give up ownership of it or something. I don't remember the big Cleve Jones. Finally, his name came to me.
He had to give it up.
I'm thinking he had to give up, or they wanted him to give it up, and they were really trying to push hard to get him to give it up, or whatever. And there was a big stink about the megaphone, and I don't remember the whole story, but I was even surprised there was a big stink about it, you know, because I mean, if it's his, but I think that the estate or something. I guess is there a Harvey Milk estate or something, or who knows?
Probably. Just like there's a Keith Haring estate and Andy Warhol estate, and they're very controlling.
Yeah, right. And I think that's where the thing is. Some kind of agency like that or something was trying to like say, "Hey, that was Harvey's. You know, that's ours." And he's like, "No, that's Harvey gave it to me." You know, it's in the movie. Did you see the movie? Harvey gave it to me. Oh goodness. Okay, Carla, you've been too quiet over there.
Me? I'm never quiet, my friend. I just, I was just going to add to Robin Cisco there that gay pride is celebrated throughout the whole world. Actually, it's not just a New York thing or an American thing or whatever you want to call it. In fact, some of the first pride parades in Europe started in 1980, I believe it was. I'm sure Tom can correct that if I've got my date mixed up, but they have Stonewall riot commemorations across Europe and also, I believe, in Australia, too, where they have something called Mardi Gras, which is their gay pride or Gay Pride Week or weekend or whatever you want to call it. So it's pride is something that's celebrated around the world. However, from my perspective, and I've done a little bit of research on this, but we need to talk about what pride means to us individually. And for myself, it's a chance to be prideful in the respect that we are still fighting for our rights to this very day, and not only in this country but around the world, although there are places around the world that are a little bit further along than we are. We need to bear in mind that this is something that affects all of our members of our community, whether it be gay, straight, or gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, questioning, or intersex. And it's a shame because a lot of times the bi and the questioning and the intersex get left off of the deal here, and that's not exactly fair to them. Lately, recently, pride has become something of a, as was previously mentioned, pride has become something of a party atmosphere rather than a protest or a fight for your rights kind of thing. We need to get back there. If we ever want to get marriage in this country, we need to step up to the plate and get back to the protesting part of it. There's a time and place for the partying, and as much I like to party as much as the next guy. However, this whole thing where we get out in the streets and we show our junk to the world is probably not as helpful as we might think. We have to remember the mainstream media tends to pick up on these sorts of things. They they would rather sensationalize the whole leather scene and the whole, drag queens and everything without actually talking about what pride really means and why we have pride and, the different rights that we need to fight for each and every time we step out into the streets. But that's for me what pride means. Pride means going out there in the street and shouting from the rooftops that we are queer and we are here, and I might add, get over it. We don't so much see that anymore, and that's kind of depressing, I think. But that's my little 2 cents there.
Well put. Very well put.
Yes. Very, very well put. We'll give you an applause, too. Yeah.
Well, thank you. The queen approves. Oh, goodness. A little inside joke for our listeners there.
Oh, Rob, did you go yet? I don't think you went yet, Rob.
You mean Cisco?
It was me.
Yeah, he hasn't gone yet.
Well, I have to agree with everything that's been said. I definitely think that we have to take it back to sort of that being in your face. What other cultures have continuously done to get their rights is be in your face. Even when you're sleeping, you're thinking about us kind of mentality, because, and we have to talk about it. We have to keep talking about it, because if we don't talk about it enough, it just never, it's never heard. So we definitely have to take it back to being out and visible. And the Pride parades are great. Like Rob and Kali has said that, numbers and power in numbers. But the party aspect of it is that I feel that we party every weekend out of the year. And that day, it's great that it's a party day for us to get together as a community and show our, we don't have to keep our flamboyantness indoors anymore. We can bring it out into the streets and show our true colors, which is a great aspect of it. But the thing is that if we're partying every weekend, at this point in time, this day should be utilized more as us coming together and being powerful in numbers in a different aspect, and being more politically, I guess, aware and educating the bystanders that are just, didn't plan to be here for Gay Pride Parade, but at the end of the day, when they leave, they didn't expect to attend a Gay Pride Parade, but when they left with something more than just the leather thong or just the stereotypical stuff that the media tends to play on within our community. At least if this individual goes there spontaneously and wow, what's this? What's going on here? And they're like, oh, wow, this is the Gay Pride Parade? Oh, they have an opinion, of course, because our society has given it, people outside of our community an opinion. But once they leave, if they leave with something, then at least that one individual or a few individuals feel that, wow, there's a lot more to it than just the leather thong or the, men that dress up as drag queens or the drag kings or the transgender. There's a lot more to us than just the obvious. And really the stuff that the media chooses to play on, which is the leather. And I keep saying that because, that's the stuff that I continuously see on news. But we're a lot more to it than that. We're just human, just like you, just like everyone. We just choose to be truthful within ourselves, and if this feels right to us, we're going to wear it, we're going to be it, and we're going to live it, because we're just being honest with ourselves. So, there's a lot of different things that we can do as a community to pick that day as, yes, we're partying, and, we don't have to keep it indoors anymore, and we're out in the street, and we're here, we're queer, we're fabulous, don't mess with us, but at the same time, try to educate the innocent the bystanders that look at the news and use media as their way of, I guess, creating their own opinion instead of having their own opinion, to show these people that we are a lot more to it than just what you think we are, and we're just like you, just like your uncles, just like your cousins, just like your father. We're just like everyone. So, as far as pride means to me, honestly, 365 days of the year, I'm proud. I'm proud to be with my partner. I'm proud to be maturing the way I am and becoming more involved within my community. The same community that I was hurting back when I was younger, growing up and fighting my own demons. And I'm coming to a point where pride is not a day. It's more of a state of mind and really just living it daily and sharing the wealth to your neighbor and helping them realize that this is a daily thing. This is not just something that I live the end of June. This is something that I live, breathe, and eat, and this is a part of me. And it's great that we have that one day to come together as a community. Now, if we could just come together as a community and stop saying catty things against each other and realizing that I can learn from you just as much as you can learn from me, and where you lack, I can fill in, and vice versa. Let's get this done. Let's really do this as a family and really set the bar for the human train of thought that should be really pushed in society more than being against each other. And but we'll get there eventually. Technology will help us in that sense, and us talking about it more. And of course, once again, things like Queer Public Radio definitely plays a major part in the growth of us getting and maturing to where we need to be as a community.
And the education.
Yeah, definitely education and understanding, because if you don't understand a lot of the things where things come from a gay aspect or just from a human aspect, if you don't understand a lot of the things that we do as a community and what we do to each other as humans, then you will never grow as a person, because you really have to understand where it all comes from before you can actually do something about it. But that's basically what I have to say. And yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Very good.
Awesomeness. That's for sure, man. I am so impressed and got me all excited.
I'm so excited, and I just can't hide it. I'm about to lose control, and I think I like it.
All right, enough of that.
Hey, you got the pointer sister. Golly, and I didn't get the pointer sister.
Well, now we got jealousy rearing its ugly head.
I knew that was
Oh, gosh.
Next time we'll let you have the pointer sister, Cisco.
Can't forget. This is my wear lingerie.
Oh, gosh.
That's just a vicious rumor. It's not a known fact. It's that guy in Hawaii that starts all those vicious Oh my goodness. Jealous about the pointer. I totally, I had all this stuff I wanted to say, and after that, I totally lost it. But, I wanted to make a little analogy. One thing that came to mind, and when Rob was speaking right now, is about community, and Kali touched on it, and of course Cisco touched on it. It's all about community. So, wait a minute, before I get into the analogy, something came back to me on it. I think sometimes there's a huge difference between a march or I guess a civil action and a parade. And I think I, I I I think the fact that there's a parade and the fact that it gets so much airplay and notice by the media, et cetera, et cetera. Just the fact that there's the gay parade in Baltimore, there's a gay parade in San Francisco, there's a gay parade in Seattle, there's a gay, and it hits the news and people see this in the news. Even if they never went to the parade, they've never ever been to one, they've gotten that exposure from the media. And there's gay people. It's like we're not in the closet anymore. We're there, and they're going to read about us, and they're going to see about us, and in the news, if they watch TV or whatever, they're going to hear about the gay parade or events and things that happen. And it's we're not the invisible existing nobodies anymore. And I think that's important. And I think even if they do prance down the street in whatever way, and we've got the politicians, and it's become way more commercial than it should be, that the original existence of Pride was more of a civil action and a march, and it's become more of a party. Yeah, it hasn't maybe gone the direction that we would all hope, or stayed, the direction that it had in the beginning at its roots, but, it still exists, and it still has a message, and it's still there. And we still have the marches. And to me, I marched in a parade here in Seattle back when the whole Prop 8 thing was going on. Goodness gracious, I think there was at least 5,000 or more, maybe 8,000 in this group of people. And we marched from a park out here and 5 miles down this main street right into downtown Seattle there. And it was the most awesome, emotional thing I have ever felt in my life, of being in that sea of people marching in that march. I have never, ever had such an overpouring of emotions from an event. And Pride has never ever done that for me. The most emotional thing for me is Pride is when I see the PFLAG mothers and fathers, the PFLAG grandmothers and grandfathers holding up their signs saying they're proud of their gay and lesbian granddaughters, grandsons, or daughters and sons, or nieces and nephews, or whatever. Those are the moments, because for me personally, I didn't get that kind of support from my family, and to see someone else's parents, our grandparents, holding up signs saying they're proud, that's a big moment for me personally. But besides that, that's the closest I've ever come in any Pride event that I've ever been to. And the only other thing I want to throw out there, because I kind of want us to hammer this one a little bit and maybe get a little more clarification here, is nudity in Pride. I personally, I'll throw it out there, I don't think it sends a good message. I don't think it's a responsible message to be sending, and I personally don't think we need nudity involved in our Pride celebrations. Anyway, I'll toss it to everyone else and let y'all go with that.
Well, Tom, I would tend to agree with that. The thing is you don't see the folks on the other side of the aisle there, our street allies, going around with their breasts all hanging out and their butts all hanging out of chaps and everything all the time. And I just there's a time and place for certain things like that, and when you're out on the street and you're fighting for your rights, and you're marching and you're doing the civil actions and everything. I'm all about celebrating our pride and celebrating our gayness and all of that. However, during the parade itself, I would like to see a lot less more of the nudity and a lot less more of the sort of, I don't know what the word is for it, but I would say campiness, and a little bit more of the the whole fight for the rights kind of thing. I mean, I don't care if you want to shout it down the street as you're going down the street, but we need to remember things like the mainstream media. That's what they pick up. They pick up the nudity. They pick up the sort of leather activities that happen at our Pride events. They pick up, they want to sensationalize all these kinds of things in an effort for the conservative members of our community to say, see, that they're just a bunch of crazy people walking down the street. They don't need rights. And we need to let these people know that we do need these rights. We do need to come together as a community for equality for all, not just a select fortunate few. The other thing I might add, and Tom touched on this a little bit, is the politicians. I do not believe the gay pride parades, or any parade for that matter, is a place for politicians to be out there gaining votes. I don't really feel that's fair to our cause or to any other cause for that matter, for them to be out there with their Vote For Me shirts and, all of this sort of thing. There's a time and place for campaigning, as it were, and there's a time and place for us to celebrate our rights and our struggles to gain equal rights for all of us. And, it's a case in point here. In Honolulu a few years ago, my partner and I went to Pride, and we saw probably about 6 candidates for our local state houses out there with their Vote For Me and, visit our website and kind of thing and all this. And, I was really disappointed in that. I mean, it was great that they were there. It was, it showed that they, support us in some measure or fashion. However, this is about gay rights. This is about us. And for them to do that, it kind of, I want to say pissed me off, but very close to that. I don't know if any of you guys have any thoughts on that. I'd be curious to find out, especially there in New York, if Rob and Cisco can maybe expand upon that a little bit.
We definitely have a large amount of politicians that do join the Pride March here. I mean, our city council speaker is a lesbian, Christine Quinn, and she goes every year. Charles Schumer, I'm not sure if he's gay, but he's there every year. He does do a lot for the humans, gay, straight, but he does do a lot for that. He's got his issues too, but most politicians do. There's always some deep insight to what they're doing. It's not just for the betterment of gay pride all the time. Now, I'm not sure from Christine Quinn's views or what she does with it, but I definitely don't think it should be a platform or a soapbox for them. Here I am at gay pride, vote for me, and then you vote for him, her, or whoever, and they're not doing anything for you.
Well, they're gone once they get the vote.
They get the vote, yeah.
And they're gone. And you're just left there like, well, I thought you were supporting the community. And it's not about supporting the community. It's about supporting their votes. I think if they're going to be there supporting us as individuals, as a community, as human beings, they have to be there without the politician garb. They have to be there without the politician attitude. They have to be there as individuals, and they have to dress as they're there to support us. If you're wearing the student tie and you have the signs, that's not what we want. If you're going to be here as a person, supporting human rights and the right thing to do for other human beings, then so be it. Definitely support us and be here. But if you're going to come with your suit and tie, the media is going to be surrounding you like the media wars that that they are, and make this about you and overshadow the true cause of what's going on here, then we don't need your help.
Virus database has been updated.
Oh, sorry about that, but do make sure your virus database stays updated as well.
We had another panel.
Oh, I hate when that happens. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Cisco.
Oh no, it's true though. I don't think they should. If they're going to be there as true supporters, you have to set aside the mentality and your own private agenda, your own
Yeah.
personal agenda, and bring it back to that. It's a people issue. It's not about the votes. It's not about you. Stop being so self-centered. If you're genuinely going to be here with us, be here side to side. And
And people will take notice.
yeah, no, people in the long run will respect you more for coming out as an individual, as a person. Yes, I am Christine Quinn, or yes, I am this politician, but that has nothing to do with me right now. Right now, it's about you guys and getting the message to the people across America and the world. What's right? You are an individual and you are a human being just like all of our neighbors and brothers and sisters, regardless of what title, classification, whatever we want to peg each individual as. Set that all aside. We're human and we're here for your cause. We're not here for my votes. So that's
Well, I would just add to that, you know, we as a community often support those who support us. And, you know, if these folks would just come out and, you know, come to Gay Pride, set the politics aside, you know, whether it be Republican, Democrat, or whatever, set that aside and just enjoy the march, stand up for human rights. And I think they would find that a lot more gay folks would vote for them if they would just do that. I mean, it's a simple gesture. Set that stuff aside for the parade, you know. Let us have our quote unquote 15 minutes of fame or in the sun or whatever you want to call it. You know, everybody, you know, deserves a right to be heard, and I find the whole politics within the Pride celebration to just be kind of out of place and very very disconnected. And that's just, you know, Pride is about equal rights for all of the human family, not just the politicians and, you know, from the president on down. I mean, it's time to let us have our moment.
exactly. And if you want really the people's vote, I mean, why don't politicians try to work within the community? If you're really for the people and you're really for the LGBT community, why don't you get together with the main individuals and within our community and set up buses where instead of having Gay Pride here in New York City, maybe not this year but next year, let's have it in Washington. Let's everything happened in New York City. Let's bring it up a notch and take it outside of New York City and bring it to Washington, where we get some type of corporate sponsor or politician involved where they can financially back buses that will take people that would normally come to the parade here and take them to Washington. Wouldn't that be amazing media attention that here's the LGBT community taking buses from New York City to Washington and bringing the march from New York City to Washington and abandoning the march that is usually held here and bring it to Washington. And look, we're in your face in New York City usually, but now we're in your face in Washington and we're in your backyard. What are you going to do now? That kind of thing, and be, much more in your face and sort of switch it up. People are so used to the routines and the celebrations and the marches and parades that we have. Let's switch it up a little bit and let's bring it to Washington, because that's definitely, where it all lies. That's the backbone of the country, and be more visible there and switch it up to the point that, next year let's hold it in Washington instead, instead of New York, and bring it up a notch.
Well, and while I agree with all that, and I think we really should do that, the other thing that we should think about is possibly having it in a place that most people wouldn't think about. Like let's have it in the middle of the country. Let's so let's do it in some of these backwater towns. Only because folks in Arkansas and Nebraska in the middle of the country, they can't get to New York. They don't have Pride celebrations there, and if they do, that they're sort of on the smaller end of things. And It's good for Pride is good on the coast and and everything, but this country is a vast country. I mean, there are small backwater towns in every state in this union, and we need to be mindful that there are gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, equestrian, and intersex people in every state in our union, and we can't just unilaterally select a city to do this. We need to have the frame of mind that Pride is something that's celebrated not only across the coast, but across our nation and around the world. And I just, for me personally, I would rather see a huge celebration in some conservative community, versus some mainstream city that, always has Pride celebration.
Pride with bulletproof vest.
Right. Well, if that's what it takes, that's what it takes.
Oh my God.
Trouble in that Stonewall business. That could be tough. Some of these people are so out. These Christians are they take their belief in God that I never read when I read the Bible as a child. I never read anything about going out and killing faggots because God wants that. That wasn't what I heard, but it could be scary.
And on the other side of that coin, you've never heard a gay person talk about they want to kill a ultra-conservative religious person. Although, some of us may think that in the back of our minds, we've never actually said that in public. And for them to turn around and say that kind of thing in public is just...
I've never actually done it.
Yeah.
It's sad to see it because when I marched on Washington in 1993, and you're walking down. I mean, first off, to do that march on Washington in '93, it was amazing to see the sea of LGBT community that was there. It was just crazy to see that. I've been to Philly Pride, Philadelphia Pride. I've been to New York Pride. I've been in the marches in Philadelphia and here in New York, and the one in D.C. was just mind-boggling because you had people from every state. And but when you would be when we were walking down towards the White House to see the hate groups standing there with their signs and saying that that God doesn't support us, God basically wants us dead. It was really sad. It was really, really sad when there was so much happiness going on in the crowd of people that were brought together, that there was so much hate on the sidelines. There was a lot of cheering, though. I saw more cheering and more people in support than these hate mongers that were on the side. But it was really still sad to see it because you don't want to see negativity when you're trying to be so positive.
Yeah, another one I was in. And I got to remember, I got to remind, because I got off lines on my earlier statement, and I forgot to mention one of the pieces I wanted to mention. There's community. So I forgot to throw out my analogy here. My analogy is that a faggot is a bundle of sticks bound together as a fire starter. And we all know that, if you want to break a stick, if you break a stick individually, that's pretty easy. But when you take a bundle of those sticks and you put them together and wrap them in around with a little tie string or something like that, and you try to break that bundle of sticks, it perhaps might be impossible without the use of some type of tool or something, or a wedge or something. So it's the strength in those sticks. It's the same strength we get by coming together as a community. When it's just like those sticks, when they're all put together in a bundle, they're unbreakable. And in our community, if we would all come together as one massive organization or group, we would be unstoppable. So that's my analogy. That's.
And in the March on Washington, it was that way because, we kept moving on. The hate mongers just stayed there. They just stayed there with their little signs and their little group. But we all kept going on over to the mall, to the mall, by the Capitol. and it didn't stop us. It was just sad to see it, but it didn't stop us. So I felt good about that.
Well, and I think that's the problem is that the hate groups they just don't get it. I mean, it's not only about gay rights; it's about equal rights for all, not just our community, but all people. And you know, when politicians are making these laws, that's something that they seem to. It's like a disconnect. They seem to forget that when they're making these laws, it's a blanket. It covers every single person in this country, not just gay community or not just the straight community or whatever community you might be talking about at the time. And it's the whole. It's like the thing with the marriage thing. I mean, it's they seem to think that you know, banning marriage is going to somehow be the magic elixir, then that's going to make all gay people disappear. Well, I got news for you. We're here, we're queer, and we're not going anywhere.
Here.
True.
Wow.
But I think pride. Love Cal. I love your idea. I was just envisioning, a roaming, different city each year or whatever. To have a big pride parade for people, but a good family oriented one. But there would still, there would still be people, being harmed and whatnot. If you went to these little rural places, it would offend many.
Well, and sometimes, though, sometimes we got to set aside the whole political correctness thing. We've got to set aside the whole, is this going to offend somebody?
Yeah.
You have to talk about these issues. I mean, we are in your backwater towns. We are in your population 500 type of towns.
Yeah, but I think they get out of there as soon as they can.
Well, yes and no. Some do and some don't.
Yeah, some can't. Some can't for whatever. Yeah.
But those are the
don't know.
people that we need to reach. I mean,
Yeah.
we need to let them know. We need to reach the 15-year-old kid in the backwater high school and let him know that it's okay to be prideful that he's gay. It's okay to celebrate that he's gay.
Yep, I had a guy call in one time on one of the shows, and let me mention that here since we're at the halfway mark. I'm a little late on it. In case anyone out there is listening and you want to be involved with the show, you can come to the chat room on queerpublicradio.com. You can text message us at 9097-GAY 9097 gay. That is for text messaging or voicemail. If you want to call in, the live line is 301-TALK-GAY. 301-TALK-GAY is the live phone line. You can be on with us by dialing that number. If you're on Skype, our name on Skype is Gay Talk Radio. It's all stuck together like it's one word. Gay Talk Radio is our Skype name. So there, we got all that out there. So now people can participate and interact if they so desire.
Well, I wanted to bring it back to what Kali said about politicians. We still somewhat need them to the point that a lot of the laws, of course, that are created promote a lot of the ignorant behavior within our society and sometimes comes in within our community and is used within each other, of course. So we still need them to the point that we need to change the laws. We maybe can't change people's minds, of course. We have to work within ourselves before we can have other people view us a certain way. But until we change a lot of these laws that promote this behavior and also, really doesn't protect the people in Middle America that are having these obvious obstacles with coming out to show their pride and show how much they support the right thing to do for human beings. Because, like Tom had told us the other day that a lot of these laws, if you come out to show your support, if your employer, of course, finds out for whatever reason, they can fire you still for being gay. So we have to somewhat start with the whole law, judicial system and politician aspect of it so that we can bring those people out from within their house, and and have them come out. Once they know they're supported through the laws, then it will make it easier for them to come out and say, I'm here, I'm queer, and I'm not going anywhere. But unfortunately, some of the laws still are just way too much of an obstacle for Middle America and a lot of these countries. I mean, a lot of these states, that aren't being represented in this whole struggle of getting us to where we need to be. But it was
Well, not only can they fire you for being gay, there are some places that they won't even rent an apartment to you if you're gay in this country. And that's a sad reality.
They can't do that anymore. The housing thing they can't do anymore. The housing and urban development on the federal level changed the laws on that. They can't discriminate in housing anymore.
Excellent.
And it's about time.
About time.
We're the United States of America, one union under God. We're not very godly, and there's no union since other states don't have the rights that other states. How are we a union? How are we united together if we're not even getting the same rights from state to state? When the government is just sitting on their tushies, as our friends upstairs would say, and they're not getting involved. They're saying, oh, we don't want to give you the right to do it, statewide. So we're not forcing you into anything. But I thought we were the United States. We're not all being united, and we're not a union.
Yeah.
I agree.
I wanted to touch a little bit on the politicians also, because I think there's another side of the coin there. Because we have to remember the fact that a politician marches in a gay pride event or participates in any gay pride event can, in some people's eyes, tarnishes their records. So that's number one. And number two, the fact that they're showing support by being there for the gay community is number two. I mean, because you not just politicians. When you get I take more pride in pride when I see like the chief of police marching in the parade, showing his support for the gay community, and then even if it's BS, or it's just a publicity stunt kind of thing. In some cases, I'm sure it is. I'd like to think that maybe, for sure it has some effect on somebody. Wow, the chief of police was there.
Yeah.
I mean, someone's got to. That's even if the man is totally full of crap and it's all a political stunt kind of thing, and he was forced into it or whatever. It has some good benefit there somewhere. And I think it's the same with the politicians. The fact that they're appearing at the gay pride, and the fact that the governor shows up, and stuff like that, and drives in the car in the convertible and does the parade wave, that's a statement, Just that.
Well, good, bad, or indifferent, politicians. Granted, the whole fact that they're there, regardless of how they got there or if they were coerced to be there or whatever, is a good thing. My whole problem with it is that they tend to use these events as a political soapbox in an effort to get votes, and
but don't they
that's
do that
where
in
I
all
got
of
the
them?
problem.
Don't they do that like in the Macy's Day Parade, and I mean all the big parades? Don't they all have the politicians in them?
Yeah.
Mayor's always there.
Mayor Blue Turd, he's always there.
Blue turd.
But you know what? In my opinion, it's I would rather them not soapbox or political campaigning at any parade, not just our parade.
Yeah, I hear you.
At any parade, it's not an appropriate place to be campaigning.
No, it's really
Exactly. The thing they should be campaigning for is equal human rights. That's
right. That's the thing.
Not for their own office.
No. And if they come out and support each individual, come out dressed as a regular person, because at that point in time, we're all regular people. So take away the corporate suit and tie and that whole mentality, with the hidden agenda, because their mentality is always with a hidden agenda, and just come out as a regular individual and march with us in the crowds. Don't come into a private car, come into the crowds, walk with the crowds, and be part of it.
And we're not saying that you have to put on leather chaps and harness or anything like that. Just come out as an average Joe. I mean,
Exactly.
don't, you know, it bugs me every time I see this, because I mean, it's like they'll come out in their suit and their tie and their campaign buttons and their, you know, big old vote for me signs and whatever, what have you, and they seem to forget that this is about an equal rights parade. This is not a vote for me to get into the White House parade. I mean, if you want to have something like that, then have your own parade. You know?
Instead of paying for all those TV commercials, you could have plenty of parades. All the money that goes into that.
That's true. That's true.
But here in the city, you know, the parades have been going for so long, and people have just become so used to the spectacle of it that sometimes probably more than sometimes the meaning is lost. But it's what each individual gets out of it. But what we really need to do is educate, just like we've done for Black history, women's history, general history. We need to have gay history, because if they don't know about it, then they're not going to know. They're not going to understand what we went through. Because it's so far ago, so long ago. I mean, most kids don't even know wars, and we grew up with wars.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, nobody knows what that is, and I'm like, damn, you don't know what that is. Boy, do you know anything else? I mean, you know, not to be rude, but you know, what have you absorbed in your time here?
Well, that's why here locally we want to eventually, like Tom has suggested, create a movie night for the teenagers that we see on Christopher Street, because we've seen the transformation since I've come into the scene since 1985 to current, how it's shifted. I mean, it's basically the same, because it was always teenagers and kids and also adults, but more teenagers that were being neglected and being turned away by their own family, their own foundation, and they would end up down there because, of course, everyone is coming together at that point because of the same reason, which is my family doesn't love me anymore. My family's not accepting me for who I am, and I come down here because you're like-minded. You know, we're all like-minded. We're all there for the same reason, and we've seen the changes. So what we want to do is create a movie night like Tom has suggested in the near future, where we have the kids come in for Like Paris is Burning, something that they could connect to, and at the same time educate them while they're having a good time, and have questions and answers at the end of it, hopefully with certain pioneers that are still around from these movies or you know, within the community, or documentaries, and have them ask and answer questions at the end and interact with these kids, because a lot of these kids feel disconnected from us in general, just because we keep turning our backs against them in so many different ways, in so many different aspects in our society, culture, religion, I mean, everything. So if we could actually connect with them, like Tom has suggested, a movie night or something fun where we're educating them on a fun level and also interacting with them with a Q&A at the end, then that's how we'll get the next generation on board with what's important, what's going on, what's current, you know, and before you know it, there we go again. The momentum's going, everything's happening, and the past is reliving itself in a good way, and we're setting the bar for where our future should be within the next.
Well, we also have to remember that these kids that we're trying to reach, they are our next generation. They are our next presidents, our next congressmen, our next judicial people. They are our next lawyers and bankers and all of that. And it's essential as a gay community that we make sure that these kids are educated about the right things, you know, and don't just give them a bunch of, you know, bull hockey. You got to give it to them straight. I mean, kids today will see right through a lie. They'll see right through, you know, a prism. And if you tell them something and they find out later on Twitter or Facebook or any of the other social networks that you know, what you were saying is true, then, you know, hopefully you've made a good dent in their thinking, and hopefully for the positive.
Exactly. And at some point we also have to realize as a society that we also have to somewhat put the age thing aside, because we could also learn from our youngsters. We could learn from our teenagers. A lot of the things that they observe, because they're so observant right now, if we even connect with them and give them a chance to speak and listen to them, we can learn a hell of a lot from our youngsters. And age has nothing to do with it at that point. It's all on how they're maturing mentally and how they're observing the world for what it is. So once again, if we could connect with our youngsters and bring them to where, what's current, and make them more involved, then, and this is for everyone, gay, straight, everyone, because at this point we need our straight allies just as much as they need us. We need each other at this point. And from what they learn from us and what we learn from them, we could set the bar for our children and sort of share the wealth, so to speak, and pass it on. And stop being so disconnected with each other as individuals, as our neighbors, as our friends, as, all our relationships. And before you know it, we'll start growing as humans. And everything else, all the petty and negative and obstacles that we've been creating ourselves, because in all reality, we have created each obstacle and negative thing that we have in our society, we created all of that. Once we get past that, everything else will be butter.
Or at least margarine.
Or at least margarine.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's about that. I went to whitehouse.gov today, and I sent a message to Obama. And I told him, I sent him a link to a London school where I've been harping on that thing for over a year. That story was from back in 2010. I've been harping on that story about that London school, that all they did was change the lesson plan at the school to get rid of their bullying, and they started teaching about famous people in history, they just intermingled it with their history lessons. They didn't leave, because like you say, Kali, when you say, that in sports, they don't have someone to look up to, and well, it's the same kind of thing, when you stop and think about it. Every single student who goes through high school and never learns a single thing, if they're a member of the LGBT community, and they go through school and they don't, as far as they're concerned, there's this whole absence of anyone who was LGBT in anything they ever learned. I mean, what kind of message does that send to this poor student? Here the person, him or her, is LGBT, and there is nothing in school that was ever mentioned in many schools about LGBT people in history. So they have no measuring stick. They have nothing to guide them as far, the absence of that information creates this terrible, terrible self-doubt. And if information was simply provided in the school system, then the vast majority of problems would disappear over time.
Well, and here's the thing, if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. If we don't teach these kids, about the different historical aspects of our movement, how are they ever going to fully understand and put into practice anything that's got a positive aspect on queer life? Like I said before, and I'll continue to say again, they are our next generation. It is very important that they learn about our history, no matter whether it's in schools, on the street, or in your local libraries or whatever. It's essential and critical that they learn this history.
Yeah, well, not a lot of youngsters don't have a lot of self-initiative. When you're talking about a youngster that's feeling negative about the whole topic because they never hear it mentioned in a positive aspect, or very seldom anyway, and it's going to be tough for them to go out and research it on their own. I think if the school would plant the seed, that this is a topic we can discuss, this is not a topic we're ashamed of, then that changes the whole light on the whole issue from day one.
But the problem is, though, some of these schools come into these very conservative backgrounds, and boy, you mentioned the word gay in a classroom, and it's like, hell is frozen over or something, and until we as an adult population learn to deal with our own negativity, it's be awfully hard to teach any children about the positive aspects of being gay, the positive aspects about being a community, the positive aspects about being a human family. We need to get over this whole stigma that gay is bad or it's some sort of disease.
Yeah, well, I think in that case, because of the fact that right there that you pointed out is that they should have it should be another course. I mean, you have government, these required courses you have to take, math, English, government, blah blah blah, history, certain courses. That gay history should be one of them, and there should be at least one semester or whatever of one school year or whatever of gay history as a class. That way they could have, they won't have negative teachers teaching that course. They'll have teachers that are positive about it, teaching it.
But it's this whole thing. I mean, even if teachers are brave enough to actually put this into their lesson plan, and that there aren't many, you got to make sure that the history that you're teaching is all inclusive, and not just cherry picking it from different parts of our times.
Yeah, well, that's why I suggest a whole separate course for it. I mean, if the Department of Education says this course is offered and here's the guidelines and requirements of this course, that the minimum that has to be disseminated to the class during its session, blah blah blah, that's where I say it needs to come from the federal government. Department of Education needs to set guidelines for, just like they do with all the other courses that are required for public schools to teach.
Definitely. That's why, I mean, the parade should go back to March, and it should be more of an educational thing, so that when people that only know what they see on TV, when they actually see it in person, it's much more impactful and changes their opinion on how to perceive us as a community, and it shows that, like Kali said, we are your bankers, we are your lawyers, and we are just like everyone else. The only difference is that we choose to be truthful to ourselves and be who we want to be with. That's the only difference.
And sleep with who we want to sleep with.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, these same Christians that are, fags should die, AIDS was sent because of this or that, they're the same ones walking down the street. Did you see my Marc Jacobs bag? Well, Marc Jacobs is gay.
Yeah, right.
Beautifully designed coats you have is designed by a gay person from Pottery Barn.
Oh, that's a whole nother bag of worms you just opened up. I mean, geez, come on. Even a lot of these symbols of Christmas, around Christmas, the Christmas tree, even the little fish day thing, and the cross with the circle thing, and those are all pagan symbols. I mean, all these things that Christianity is it's plagiarized.
It's good fiction.
They got it from the Greeks. They stole it off the walls in the catacombs or whatever, and then they say, oh well, we're going. Anyway, I'm not going to go there.
One thing education is, it's funny, the kids today, not even the kids, the adults, because if you watch Jay Leno or David Letterman, these adults, they ask them, who was the first president and who was the second president, or some people don't even know George Washington, but George Washington, he asked, was the first president. You know how many people think that Abraham Lincoln, just because those two pictures were always together, thought that Abraham Lincoln was the second president?
Really?
That's sad. That is very sad.
And same thing with people learning about gays. How many people think that Oscar Wilde and Harvey Milk were lovers? Because that's all they hear, but they don't know the whole story. And they were two different time periods.
Yeah, big time.
Because they don't. It's just really sad that our education system limits what we can learn. Some of the books are ripped apart, and we're not even teaching anything right. We're not even teaching the regular history right, because people want to go in there and censor out what they want to censor, and nobody's getting the right story. Be it gay, straight, black, white, yellow, Puerto Rican, or Martian.
Well, that's why we started a blog called backinthegates.com, and we're hoping that with that blog we can actually show the different aspects of our gay history, our gay existence, our gay contribution, our LGBT. When I say gay, I just mean everyone. Honestly, I don't mean just male. I mean everyone. Our contribution to society in general, and on top of saving the history aspect, and also listening to everyone's story, each individual story, because to us, everyone has a story and everyone is important. I'd rather hear the story of my neighbor than hear the story of something that was created or hyped up to be something that was like, what? So with us starting that blog, we're making our efforts to hopefully set the bar to help other individuals understand that we do bring good music, we do bring good fashion. We have great sex, of course, because that's just part of being human is, having the sex aspect of it. But on top of it, we also give good history because we have contributed the largest contribution to human existence in all cultures. I honestly believe that. The gay culture, the LGBT community, and the culture has given the most contribution to our society and to our world existence, whether people like to agree or not. We have in so many different
Well,
ways.
and here's the thing: if we were all the same, this world would be very, very boring. Because let me tell you, if there was more than one of me, the world would be in trouble. But we have to remember that we all have our own story. We all come out at different times in our lives. We all, have certain issues in our lives that are different than the next guy, and it's about celebrating the fact that we are different, and standing up for equal rights for all, and not just our community. I often tell people that I don't want gay rights. I want equal rights.
Exactly. Here.
Yeah, and I think the fact that we're mentioning history here, I got to add in another little tidbit going a little farther back on the history timeline. But, there are many cultures throughout the world that had what, in common, to use one term to group them all, would probably be two spirited. And, it goes to generations, Aboriginals peoples over in India. They had the Hijra, and the two-spirited people with the American Indians here had various names depending on tribes. And up in Canada, they had two-spirited peoples. They still have organizations up there for two-spirited peoples that are, indigenous peoples of that country. The those people, the two spirited, which are basically the gay people, um, were born with both spirits, male and female. That was considered a great gift. That these people were considered like second in line as far as ranking to the tribal holy man, and they indeed performed holy ceremonies such as marriages. Not only did they marry opposite gender couples, they married same sex couples as well. So, come on. I mean, if you can't see the irony of that, here we have a gay person that's a holy person in the tribe that's marrying other gay people. So, I mean, if you can't wrap your head around that, think about it that way a little bit, because and this is we're talking about, before any Americans were here, before any white people came to this continent, this was going on. So I mean, if you want to have pride, don't just, it's not just Stonewall. It's just not about parades and marches and people hitting other people. It goes way back. It goes way back. That even in Rome, they actually had relationships of same gender. Prior to the Christians moving into town, and then they changed it all, of course.
Well, I mean, we have to remember that gay people go back as far as time itself. I mean, there's always been gay people. I mean, if you look at the science about and stuff about it, if the fact that 2 out of every 10 people is gay, you're talking about a lot of people. I mean, this world has a long history. You go all the way back to the Egyptians and the Romans. They had gay people back then.
Mm-hmm.
And the sad fact is that this type of stuff isn't taught in our schools. I mean, some say Leonardo da Vinci was gay. I mean, you know, that fact alone is not talked about in schools.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sad because they're not learning the history as it really was. They're learning the history sort of a cherry picked or hand picked or censored or however you want to call it.
Brainwashing.
Right.
Because if our children knew that Leonardo da Vinci was gay, and they and knew and understood what gay meant, that it wasn't just about sex or sexual deviancy, as they say, it would help them say, "Wow, I could be like him. I could do that. I can be an artist." And you know, he was gay, and it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we censor out just to make it convenient, and you know, people, and then another thing, you know, we think George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, first and second president, you know, Leonardo da Vinci, he must have been dating Mona Lisa, you know, or was that his wife, or you know.
He was. He was a drag queen, though. That's the part they don't know.
Well, like I often tell folks, you know, I'm gay, but that's just a small part of me. You know, that's not my whole makeup. And, you know, yes, you can be an artist. Yes, you can be a sports figure. Yes, you can be a rock star, if you will. These are things that people seem to forget, that, you know, we are who we are, and we're everywhere.
Definitely. So, right, that's why the marches are so important, because if we could actually reverse, it doesn't mean you sacrifice being yourself. It just means that you're actually more being yourself, because you don't go to work in your leather thong, or your, you know, or
Well, that depends on where you work, though.
Not as an exterior garment, anyway.
Yes.
That's in his contract. But yeah, that's why the parades are definitely. I mean, it has to shift back to being marches and more less used as a parade or pride.
Celebration.
A celebration, more of a march. I'm back in your face. You still haven't given me what you were supposed to give me 40 years ago on this date, and I haven't forgotten, and you shouldn't either. You know.
And we're going to keep reminding you every year and every chance we get. We're queer. We're here. Get over it. I mean.
Exactly. And you know, when we get what we want, then we'll have the real celebration. Everybody will be invited, not just gay. Everybody will be invited, because we'll all be loving one another and enjoying each other's company and using
and learning from each other.
Exactly. Once that happens, that's when you will see all these closet cases, DLs, all the DLs and all that. They're gonna freaking come out of the closet so freaking fast, and they're gonna come out with their wives' panties and their wives' high heels, and they're gonna be like, "I've always here." I said nothing. You know, and from that respect too, that's wrong too, because you're not being truthful to yourself. You're not being truthful to the wife or the husband, depending on what you are. You're not being truthful, and you're hiding that. And I know it's hard, and you know, I know, but you know what? You got to be truthful, because you're hurting somebody, and you supposedly love them. So
not only are you hurting somebody else, but you're hurting yourself.
Exactly.
And if you can't respect yourself, nobody else will. You know.
Exactly. And the children, because, we keep pointing the finger of, oh my God, this generation is going to shit and this and that. And you know what's so sad is that the mother and fathers of our past generations don't even think or take responsibility for the part that they played and the reason why our new generation is shit. You forget that you played the part because you're the reason why a lot of us are around and continue to be around. And remember, you played a major part in our messed upness. What's going on?
Well, it starts at home. That's what folks seem to forget. No matter what topic you're talking about, it starts at home. I mean, bad behavior is learned. It's not something that's you're born with.
That's right. It all starts with mom and dad.
Did you ever wonder if your mom gave dad a blowjob right before she kissed you goodnight?
That was good.
Mom and dad did it.
That's it, man. It all had to start somewhere, and it definitely started there.
That semen taste got in there, and that I was hooked for life. Thanks, Mom. Well, I know
why my mother always told me to stay away from the sailors.
Now you know.
Steven.
Goodness gracious. I'm telling you, we just went the
But that's
wrong.
why stuff like this is really important because you get the different opinions of our brothers and sisters, our neighbors, and we each get something from it, and we take it after this point in time. Like while we're doing Queer Public Radio, we're doing the Roundtable. We've gotten so much from Kali and Tom. Now what we do is we take it with us, and we take it with things that we've observed and we know, and we incorporate it into things that we already, are working on and doing and changing within ourselves. And it's amazing how us at this point in time in life, we're taking the time to learn from our neighbors, our brothers and sisters, and it's such a great thing, and that's what we need more within our society, within our culture, and it's really a beautiful thing, really, to being part of and having things like what you have here, Tom.
And I hope we're making the listeners out there feel comfortable so they can join in too, because it's so good to hear a new voice and to even hear a new comment or read a new comment. So hopefully the listeners out there will start pitching in and joining in and hopefully we're making them all feel comfortable, because I'm really comfortable and this is a really good thing.
Well, I think that's it here. We try to have a very relaxed atmosphere. And but we got 10 minutes left in the show, and so I want to give everybody time to say little things, and I also want to mention that this show is recorded live twice a month currently. One of these days, maybe we'll get it up to weekly and make life a lot simpler for a lot of reasons. But right now, it's twice a month. It comes on at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, noon Pacific Time on Saturdays, right here on queerpublicradio.com. So we got about 10 minutes left in the show here. Any wrap-up comments from any of the individuals?
Well, I first of all want to say thank you for hosting us, and it was a very spirited conversation. I also think we also need to talk about what we're going to talk about next time.
Goodness, thank goodness someone remembers this stuff.
Well, that's the beauty of where one lacks, the other one fills in, and vice versa. One has the other.
The beauty of the round table. Yes.
So what is going to be our topic for the next time?
Let's see, what is next time? Next time,
if I may suggest a topic, why don't we discuss some transgender issues?
That would be good. That would be really good because I actually have a friend. I don't know. I don't know if she would do it, but I have a friend. Actually, it's my gay brother's other half's sister's daughter. This is true. Sister's daughter, husband, when she became Jimmy to Julie, and they're having it seems like they might be having a problem accepting it. But I'm trying to give support to his sister's daughter and tell him that we support them and that if there's anything we can do or we can help them with, to let us know any kind of resources we can help them find because this is all new to them and they're really looking for the acceptance. So I think the transgender would be a very good topic.
Yeah, that's a very, very, very good topic actually because it's definitely connected to us through them and also through other, of course, people that we know just within our community. And yeah, that's a great idea, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Well, I just thought it's, we had been talking about Pride celebrations, and the transgender community is a part of our community, so why not include them in our topics?
I think it's great to have them as a topic of discussion. I also think it would be nice to have at least for part of the show or some section or segment or something, even if it's just a call-in pre-recorded thing or whatever, something from a member of that community.
Well, we could actually, we'll try our best because depending, it's so new to them.
Yeah,
it's so new to them that we don't know how they would feel to be on the air. But we could definitely see if we can actually get them to come in, and come onto the show and voice their opinion on what they're experiencing because they're experiencing a lot of discrimination within their own family, and their own foundation. So,
and they actually live out in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So that's a very religious area too.
Mm-hmm.
So
we'll definitely try. We can't promise anything, but we'll definitely get on it the minute we finish today's show and start the ball rolling on that and let you know about that, Tom. Definitely.
Okay. Yeah, because I don't want to do a disservice to the community and upset anybody. Boy, that was a half-ass attempt at a transgender
It's
show.
not about that.
Well, I just feel that it's important to get the opinions of as many of our community members as possible, and transgender community is a very real thing. Whether it be male to female or female to male, or maybe even a drag queen situation. It's important that we show that every member is represented in these roundtable things. So,
yep, that's a good idea.
Like Tom always says, we are one human family. So,
yep, and
it's a very broad subject. I mean, you've got drag kings, drag queens. Like you said, Holly, male to female, female to male, and asexual people that don't even know which way they're going. And they don't know which way to side on.
Yeah.
So it's I think it'd be definitely a good topic to go with.
Yeah, we'll see. I also have someone that's a member of Queer Public Radio that's down in the Houston area that's transgender, male to female. So that's someone I can contact to see because I remember I was doing the show one time and she came into the chat room. Raising hell, about how she couldn't find work because she's transgender. But anyway, in Texas, that's a whole nother issue. That's where you get into. We'll talk about it on the next show. So anyway.
I just thought it would be a good topic to put out there. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's definitely a great topic because within our community, it's a great way to educate because within our community, from just people that I've listened to have stated that for whatever reason, transgender, male to female, female to male are confused. And I try to explain to them, I explained to them that how could you even say that when at one point we were being dubbed and pegged as being confused. You know,
it's not being institutionalized.
So, you know, me as a person, I cannot say that the transgender community, male to female, female to male, or anyone questioning their own sexuality, I can't say that they're confused because at one point I was being pegged as being confused. So that's a great way to educate once again and make people understand that no, they're not confused. They're going through just the same thing you're going through. It's just a matter of finding and figuring out what's comfortable for you and what works for you.
Well, as if they don't have the right to be confused. I mean,
really, yeah, exactly.
You know?
And the whole world of transgender is not RuPaul's Drag Race. I mean, believe me, I give her kudos for what she's done. She's gotten it out there. She's worked her ass off. But that's not the transgender world. It's real people with real problems.
That's right.
And real issues. I mean, there is a very real discrimination going on with the transgender community that really does need to be brought to light.
And I honestly think they have it the worst. Honestly, they really do because
we even as a community put them at the end of the line. It's either GLBT or LGBT. We always put the transgender at the back of the list. And you know, you can look at it as a half full glass or a half empty glass, but you know, still we put them at the end, and you know, I don't know. They were in the fight for Stonewall like everybody else. They were all there.
They were in the front line.
They were in the front line.
The intersex is on the end, really. If you the LGBTQIA, or the allies, the ones we really love dearly, are on the LGBTQIA. Yeah. You know, that's, I don't know. You know, everyone's got to have a place in the line.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's always interesting. You see some people LGBT and you see other people GLBT, and it's interesting that you very rarely see a lesbian put GLBT. It's usually a male, and I've even had males say, "Why do the lesbians get to go first?" You know, I mean,
right.
Who cares?
Exactly. At that point in time, put all that aside, and at least we're all being accounted, respected, and we're all learning from each other.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's all we can do. Well, that's a wrap, folks. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Kali.
Thank you, Kali.
Got to put out.
Well, thank you guys.
Got to put out the website for these three wonderful, gentle persons, and tell Kaylee that we were disappointed. We didn't hear his wonderful opinions on this show. And, well, he's probably going to hear it anyway if he's listening to the show. But, anyway.
Give him hell.
Got to put their websites out there, backinthegaze.com. All stuff together, backinthegaze.com. Check them out. You got a little story you want to tell, head on over there, set you up an account, put your story down there, get it forever documented. We'll have it there. Other people can read the story, make a difference, maybe change a life. If you're interested in any awesome handmade, original, one-of-a-kind jewelry made in Hawaii from like gemstones and coral and agate and just a little bit of everything, like 20 different categories of pages over there of all kinds of beautiful stuff where Kaylee make themselves. I got a short URL for you. It is bit.ly/H, the letter H, bling, you know, as in bling, 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 bling. We'll see y'all next time, 2 weeks from today.
Have a good weekend, everyone. Love ya.
We love you.
Love
Hugs
everybody.
and kisses, everyone, and once again, our prayers and thoughts to the people of Japan, and aloha from Hawaii.
I love you, and you, and you. Oh, and you too. And don't forget him. I love her, and him, and her, and him, and him, and her. I love you all.
Adios. Have a nice trip. Bon voyage. Farewell to thee.
That's all, folks.
We'll leave the light on for you.